Saturday night sanctuary meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Karen. I am your alcoholic leader for this evening. Hi, Karen. Hi. This is a self-free zone. Please silence your phone, no texting. If you have an emergency, please take your phone outside. Because this is a large meeting, we ask that you save just one seat for yourself plus one other. Now that the meeting has started, please feel free to take any unoccupied seat. If you have a vacant seat next to you, will you please raise your hand so those still standing may find a seat? Thank you. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not engage in any controversy. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. I have said that I'm an alcoholic. Will any others present please raise your hands? Welcome. Not to embarrass you, but to get to know you at the coffee break and after the meeting, will any newcomers in their first 60 days of sobriety please stand and give us your name and disease? Please hold your applause until after all newcomers have introduced themselves. Will the newcomers please stand and audibly begin on my left? Hi, William. Hi, Kara. Richie. Hi, Elena. Hi, Will. Daniel. Hi, Georgia. Hey, Luke. That's it? All right. Welcome to all of you. If there are any alcoholics visiting from outside the greater if there are any, I'm sorry, it's just that you're talking like at the same place I am. If there are any alcoholics visiting from outside the greater LA area, will you please stand and give us your name and tell us where you are from?
Hi, I'm Michael from Grants Pass, Oregon.
Hi, Michael.
I'm William. I'm originally from Minnesota.
Welcome. Thank you. Will the Al-Anons with us tonight please raise their hands? Yay. Experience has shown that the AA program will work for any alcoholic who is sincere in his or her desire to stop drinking. The program for recovery is defined for us in Chapter 5 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and is entitled How It Works. Tonight I have asked Joanna to read a portion of Chapter 5, which contains our 12 steps to recovery.
I just hope I can see. Here we go. I can see it. Hi, I'm Joanna. I'm an alcoholic. Chapter 5, How It Works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Sorry. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought, We could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Whoa, this thing is... Yo. Aliens. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May we find him now. Half measures avail us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of, this is better, sorry. Made a list of all persons we had harmed, became willing to make amends to them all. Made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order, I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostics, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we are alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, God could and would if he were sought.
Thank you, Joanna. The format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee break, and a snack break, and then our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Todd.
It was an accident.
Hey, my name's Todd. I'm an alcoholic. And I'm not going to deep throat these mics. I'm a little antsy. I normally have a decaf after 6, and I think they slipped me a lighted or a regular one, and so I have a resentment. But I can't put it down. I'm already into it. It's been a while since I stood at this podium. I used to be a service to this meeting. It's an honor to speak as usual. It's good to be here, you know. Good to be here and not out there. And when I was out there, I didn't ever think I was going to be in here. And I had no intentions of coming to AA. It wasn't on my bucket list. I didn't have anything wrong, you know. I was going to go to jail, and everybody was out of my life, and I couldn't stop drinking. Everything was fine. And before I got here, I thought I had it all together, self-employed and got 2 kids and had the wife and all the bells and whistles and, I just had that head of conceit and, I never thought I was an alcoholic. I didn't know what an alcoholic was. And I drank a lot. I liked to party. And, I'm not going to sit up here and try to psychoanalyze myself and all that kind of crap. I just, I didn't know how I felt when I was a kid. I just wanted to have fun. And my parents liked to have fun. They're from the 60s and the late 50s. And, they're all about the highballs and the bouffant hairdo and the mini skirts and all that. And, they used to go out and get me the babysitter, and I wanted to go along, and I used to throw a tantrum and throw shit across the room because I couldn't go. I didn't know what they were doing. So, I started at an early age. I started at 8 years old, and I couldn't stop. And I made it into the rooms when I was 42. So that's a pretty long party. So, I'm not going to drunk-a-log it, basically, there was a lot of chaos and mayhem. I got myself a record, I got myself kicked out of this, I got myself fired from that, I lost this, and, I still didn't think there was anything wrong. And, there's things going on today, and maybe I'm just a fool or naive, and sometimes I think there's nothing wrong today. I think that's my alcoholism. And that's why I got to come to these meetings, And, with all the trouble and everything that I created because of my drinking and because of my alcoholism, I didn't feel it necessary for me to stop. I didn't think that I needed any help. And, I was having a shitty relationship with my God. I'm a retired Catholic. He couldn't do anything for me that I could do for myself, and, I just, that's how it was. And, I was forced to go to parochial school when I was a kid and do all that crap, and, I got in trouble for, chug-a-lugging the altar wine, and it's just, anything you could think of that we could do, I did it. I'm sure you did it too, just a different way, and, and I was this far from going to jail. I had 3 DUIs in a 10-year span, 2 back-to-back, and, this is the kind of alcoholic I am. So on my last DUI, instead of just taking a break and trying to realize my wrongs and pull my head out of my ass, I'm sitting in the bar the next day trying to figure out how to rob Peter to pay Paul and finance the DUI. And I'm the poster child for incomprehensible demoralization. And that went on for about another year, and I crossed that line to where drinking was no longer fun, and it just became the necessity. I went from that luxury drinker or the recreational drinker to the necessity drinker that they talk about in the book. And I couldn't do anything without the drink. I couldn't run my business. I couldn't take care of my kid. The wife was already gone, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't pick her up. I couldn't function. I couldn't shower, anything without a drink. And it was the night before I got sober, and I was fucking hammered, and coming from a shoebox bar, my favorite, and taking the side streets home, and lo and behold, my higher power that I wasn't introduced yet decided to give me a moment of clarity while I was sideswiping cars a block from my house. And I stopped and I turned on my light and I looked at myself in the mirror and I go, what the fuck are you doing? And the next day I made it to Alcoholics Anonymous. And, I'd like to thank my sponsor hiding behind the piano over there for volunteering me to speak tonight. I just came in here to unwind from a move and celebrate my birthday, and I got voluntold to share, and that's what we do in AA. My sobriety date is August 26th of 2008, so as of yesterday, I celebrated 14 years.
All right.
So, how much time do I got? 4 minutes. It's going pretty quick. What's it like now, I don't say no to AA, Unity, service, and recovery, Meetings, gathering with people, fellowship, and being of service to any meeting, any job handed to me, and paying it forward, giving to somebody else what was given to me. That's the deal. And when I came into these rooms fresh at the Hermosa Club, we had Cadillac Phil working behind the bar, rest in peace. And he kept asking me how I was doing. He was very friendly to the newcomers, and I'm just trying, man. He goes, I'm trying my best. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. And he goes, look, you got to stop trying. There's no trying here. He goes, give me $1 or give me a $5, whatever. And I gave him a $5, and he crumbled it up and he threw it on the floor in front of me. And he goes, what are you going to do with that dollar bill? You're going to pick it up. He goes, you're not going to try to pick it up. You're either going to pick it up or you're not going to pick it up. And that's what AA is. We come in here and we get a program and we either do it or we don't. And if we don't do it, you might as well just go back out to that wherever you came from and start picking up and using, because that's just the way it's going to work. Your committee, me, myself, and I, that ism, is just going to, wake up and start, pounding inside your head. And he still does that with me. And I got to do this program, And, unity, service, and recovery is our triangle. And in the parallel universe before I got here, I was working my own triangle. And that was alcohol, weed, and speed. And, and that didn't work out too well, 2 minutes. So, I stay in it, I have what do you call it, stumbling moments, brain farts, hiccups, or whatever, and I take breaks. And I'm still service, but not in the rooms. I'm not in service out of the rooms. I've always learned to pay this shit forward. It's always putting myself in the back of the bus. It's a selfless program, not a selfish program. It's always one day at a time. And and if you're new, welcome. There's a lot of newcomers tonight, and don't expect to get all this down. There's 12 steps, there's 12 traditions, there's 12 concepts, there's 12 this, there's fucking 12 of everything. And, let me condense it for you. There's 3 easy steps to doing this. You stay sober one day at a time, try not to act like a fucking asshole, and pay this shit forward. And if you can do that, everything else will come into place. You'll get the gratitude, you'll get the love, you'll get the compassion. You'll get anything and everything that we say that you're going to get, one day at a time. Thank you.
Where are we? Oh, I'm sorry. Our 12 traditions are as important to AA, unity, and progress as are the 12 steps to recovery. Tonight I've asked Michael to read the 12 traditions while we silently observe the 7th tradition. If you have court cards to be signed, please place them in the basket and pick them up at the podium after the meeting. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic. I'll stand way back. 12 traditions.
Don't stand there.
Our number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Welcome to the Sanctuary Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Julie, and I'm an alcoholic and your secretary. Hi. Before I go through the normal or our usual secretary's reading, I have a very sad announcement to make. A longtime member of this group, Randy, passed away Monday morning. Many of you know that. He was loved. He was a loved member of AA, and he came early, stayed late, always of service to whatever meeting he was at. To this meeting, he was one of the speaker getters. I counted on Randy as a friend, as I know many of us did, and his kind and gentle spirit will be missed. So let's have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. In naming our meeting sanctuary, we mean it to be a safe place, a retreat, and a refuge where we can each personally observe the 11th tradition. Our group endeavors to provide a safe meeting place for all attendees and encourages each person here to contribute to fostering a secure and welcoming environment in which our meetings can take place. Therefore, we ask that group members and others refrain from any behavior which might compromise another person's safety. And this direction comes directly from GSO. At the end of the meeting, the speakers will be up front. Please line up to my right to thank them. Smoking is not allowed in Manhattan Beach. Therefore, this is a non-smoking meeting, including vaping. We remind everyone we are guests at this location and very lucky to be here. Please respect the no smoking rule. Restrooms are located to my right and up the ramp. The women's is a little further up the ramp from the men's. Please keep the noise down in respect for the neighbors. Gates will be closed and locked by 9:30 p.m., if not sooner. As soon as we have cleaned up, we lock up. If you go to fellowship after the meeting, please be sure to move your car out of the parking lot. It will be locked in and you won't be able to get it until tomorrow. Court cards will be signed and can be picked up after the meeting. It takes a lot of people to make our meeting happen. At this time, I would like to ask everyone that participates to please raise their hand. You are much appreciated. And amazingly, to my amazement, when I arrived here this evening, at 5:45, half of the room was already set up. So, it was like, here's to you guys. We now have a literature announcement from Andy.
I'm Andy, alcoholic. We have literature. It's back on the literature table. Thanks. Can you hear me, Meryl? It's back on the literature table next to the snacks. All the stuff in the racks, all the pamphlets are free for the taking. We sell books at our cost. We have papers. We have 12 in one. And we have lots of past issues of the Grapevine, but I'll let our Grapevine rep tell you about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And hello, Zoom people. I just noticed you're here. How about a Grapevine announcement? Lainey.
Lainey Alcoholic. I have the newest edition of the Grapevine, September 2022. I think that's really cool. It's like a little portable meeting that fits in your pocket, and there's jokes in the back. So in honor of the jokes, I have a little one for you today. I don't know if I've told anyone here this, but I have really, really bad claustrophobia. And if you don't know what that is, it means a fear of closed spaces, primarily the liquor store.
I didn't really get that one. Closed spaces. I get it. I thought closed. Okay. That was funny. Okay. Now we'll have an audio announcement from Merrill.
Hey, Merrill Alcoholic, and your audio geek for this wonderful meeting. We have available for you the speaker who will be speaking tonight, lovely lady, and as well as Todd, who I forced up here. No, he actually graciously gave us time up. In any case, all you have to do is go over, there's an iPad laying on the table, put your name, your email number, your email, and your telephone number, and we'll get you covered. Donations are welcomed, not necessary, but welcomed, because we still have to contribute to keep this going. Thanks for letting me be of service.
And Todd has asked me to make an announcement for Central Office. Central Office still has phone shifts available, both regular and alternate, and you could see either Todd or go to the South Bay, the All South Bay Central Office.org, asbco.org website to sign up. So thank you for that. Let's see, no CSR? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'll just scratch the backup phone list people off my list. I'm kidding.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm your alcoholic CSR. Trying not to have a resentment. I kid. Okay, so you guys know that the roundup is this weekend. CSR would like some volunteers. If you guys want to volunteer to help at the literature table, you could see Todd, and also there's a link on the website. And what else? There are about 300 big books at Central Office now, because you guys know that we've had a serious shortage. There's a supply chain shortage. But if you need to order bulk, it has to be approved by a manager. So, but you can get more than one book, because you guys were on restriction, remember? What else do we have here? I have a bunch of stuff. Oh, the family picnic chili cook-off has been confirmed for August 30th. So that's coming up. So they need volunteers for that. Again, there's a link on the website. Please sign up. They can use your support. And there's a new website for H&I. So forget the old one. The new one is www.southbayhi.com. I think that's all I have. Am I forgetting anything, Todd?
Kathy, I think you misspoke. I think it's September 30th, not August.
I said October. But that's, I said August? Okay, I lie. You got it, you know what, thank you. It's October 30th. So don't go this month. Thank you. I'm gonna stop now.
Okay, I would like to thank Karen for leading tonight's meeting. Thank you. And Todd for that great 10-minute pitch. We do not celebrate birthdays at this meeting. However, we do honor them by having those people observing their AA anniversary stand, starting on my left, declaring audibly their name and the number of years sober. Mm-hmm. Whoa. Okay.
Lead alcoholic, 15 years.
Hey.
Alcoholic, 1 year.
Hey.
Andrea, alcoholic, 2 years.
James Todd, I'm an alcoholic, $14.
And Todd is making his way over to our birthday basket to demonstrate it. is suggested per the AA pamphlet, the AA group on page 22, that some members celebrate their AA anniversaries by donating a gratitude gift. Yay! Some members donate $1 per year of sobriety. Half goes directly to, it goes directly to general services in New York. We would like to welcome the newcomers who identified themselves, and especially those who did not, out-of-town guests, and our Al-Anons. When you hear the bell at the end of the break, please promptly take your seats. And one quick last announcement regarding Randy. More information will be coming as far as the service, and I believe Jan has a email that was sent to her by Randy's wife that she will send out to people. That's got a couple links on it. So, and thank you for letting me be of service. I know.
The courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Could everybody please take their seats because I'm introducing the speaker? Now our main speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Michelle from Palmdale. Thanks, honey.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I'm an alcoholic. I hate that I'm from Palmdale. My sobriety date is November 2nd, 2009. My home group is a Rose City speaker meeting in Pasadena, and my sponsor is Terry B, and she knows she's my sponsor today. Those are three really, really important things to me, and I can definitely say in almost 13 years that the one thing that I've had for sure is my sobriety date. And I've definitely paid a price for that. There are times I didn't have a home group or what we call like a hat hanger meeting, and times where I wasn't keeping up with my sponsor all the time. So today I really try to keep those things tight, and I really try to keep those things like in lock, because the road definitely gets narrower. So I'm gonna try to keep this brief on what it was like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start right at the womb. So we just don't have a lot of time tonight, but I'm just kidding, guys. I grew up in a small town, Moore Park. It's in Ventura County. It's not just a street where another AA meeting sits on. It's an actual city, and there's 30,000 people, and there's been 30,000 people forever and ever and ever. There's one high school for the whole city, and yeah, it was an interesting place to grow up. My dad is Guatemalan and my mom is Caucasian, and most of my friends growing up were Caucasian. I didn't grow up speaking Spanish or anything, so that was a really interesting thing to go through in the 90s, going to the grocery store with my mom, and people thought she would adopted me or whatever. And when I was 13 and I was getting a mustache and Ashley, Katie, Nicole weren't, it really separated me from my fellows, you know? So when people talk about separation from their fellow, I'm yeah, I identify with that. And my mom's name is Diane. So when I went to her with that issue, she's like, I don't know how to help you with your mustache problems. I'm like, okay, cool. Also, hi to everyone on Zoom, and welcome to all the newcomers. Happy birthday to all the birthday people somewhere around here. We had a 1 year. So yeah, congratulations. It's a really big one. But yeah, so I grew up in Moore Park, and my family was the alcoholic family on the block. I'm sure you were that too, or you know that family. You know, we were the family where we had a fence and it blew down one year and we just never rebuilt it. We were the family who had eucalyptus trees, and if anybody knows anything about eucalyptus trees, they shed like crazy. And we had a beautiful backyard, but by the time we left, it was just covered in eucalyptus branches. We had a hammock we never used, and our dog ran around the entire neighborhood. Everybody knew who Roxy was, and she was a really great dog. But the other things that we had were the cops were always at our house. I would get stopped. I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister. And my 2 oldest brothers were in and out of jail and prison for most of my adolescent life. So we always had the police at our house. I remember one year when I was like in 6th grade or something, and I was walking my sister to the bus, and like my brother, his room was in the front of the house so he could see who was coming through the front door. And he just like bolted out of his room and was heading towards my mom's room, and we had a wash behind our house. So he like ran into my mom's room, locked the door, and went through to the wash. And when I opened the door, the police were at the door, and they were asking for Frederick Marshall Ward. And it's really interesting because as a 6th grader, somehow I already knew that I was supposed to protect him. You know, like I knew that I was supposed to lie for him, and I knew that I was supposed to say that he wasn't there. And when they just came into the house, like there's no adults, like they just came into the house, and they were asking why my mom's door was locked, and I was like, she always locks it, you know. And so it was just this like inherent thing in me where it was like protect my family, and like that's what we do. My parents divorced when I was 4. I actually really don't have any memories of them together at all. But my mom quickly remarried. Both my parents have been married and divorced 4 times. If that's not alcoholic, I don't know what it is. But my mom quickly remarried, and my stepdad was abusive to my mom and to my brothers. And yeah, I just grew up in this really chaotic home. It's not what makes me alcoholic. I realized coming to Alcoholics Anonymous that what makes me alcoholic is that when I start drinking, I can't stop. You know, I have that obsession of the mind and the phenomenon of craving. And I really had to understand that when I got here and to be able to identify that in my own journey. I got sober right before my 22nd birthday, and young people do recover. But I had to be really honest with myself, and that's the principle behind step 1 is honesty. You know, I had to go through my life and really see that I couldn't control my drinking. And it's really hard as a 22-year-old to sit there and think like, can I really not control it? But I'm really grateful for strong sponsorship and for people in the rooms who are able to honestly share their experience, strength, and hope. You know, like people who come in here and they really say what it was like so I could identify. And I like the war stories, you know, because when I first came in here and you guys talked about being happy, joyous, and free and like having your lives back and all this stuff, I was so far removed from that when I walked in the door that I couldn't identify with that. You know, like it didn't even make sense to me. When you say happy, I'm like, what's that? Happy is like getting, you know, well, you guys know what happy is. So, I just couldn't identify with that. So when people share what it was like when I first came in, I could start saying, yeah, me too. And specifically in the women's meetings, that was very important for me when I first got here. But yeah, so the way that I was able to kind of, you know, navigate through like my young adolescent life, because my sister started using meth at 14, and I just come from this crazy home. I do what a lot of kids do. I joined band. I started playing clarinet in 5th grade, and I never thought I was going to join the Philharmonic or anything like that. Like I never tried to pursue a goal like that. But what happened was I got to have this group of friends, and the band parents were there, the band moms, and when my mom couldn't pick me up after school, they would take me home. And you know, my friends would have these like St. Patrick's Day parties and Christmas parties, and when we started going into high school and we were all joining marching band and we were in jazz band, and I just like got to have these friends for like such a long time, and I had somewhere to go before school and somewhere to go after school. In fact, it was really funny. When I joined high school, I was playing stand-up bass at the time, so it was like this tall, and my mom had this like convertible car, and I just remember like in the mornings when I would take it to school and I'd be like holding on to it in the convertible. Anyways, but you know, that was like the thing that I did. And I fell in love when I was 15 years old, and of course it was the electric guitar player in band, and his name was Bill Worrell, and he had like long black hair, and he was tall and handsome, and he also came from an alcoholic home, except his family was just richer than mine. So it was really nice, because hanging out at his house was way better than hanging out at my house. And my mom kind of let me do that, which was like really interesting. At 15, I was literally living with my boyfriend at the time. And I think she just thought that I was probably safer than wherever my siblings were. And because we both came from an alcoholic home, we had no communication skills, like no coping mechanisms, like no way of dealing with anything. And then of course we're like young teenagers. So when that obviously came to a very dramatic end, my sister, who had been asking me for a really long time to like drink and smoke with her, asked me one more time, and I don't know if like Mercury was in retrograde or like the stars were aligned just perfectly that day or whatever it was, but I said yes. And I drank Malibu rum and milk, and I smoked weed out of an apple. Come on, guys, I was like 15 or something. You guys act like you haven't done like worse than that. What about the beer with the cigarette in it, So, but yeah, so I drank and smoked for the first time, and it was the absolute best thing that had ever happened to me. Like, that was my experience for sure. Absolute best thing that ever happened to me. And my only worry was, like, did I walk into the kitchen, or did I think I walked into the kitchen? I don't know, and I'm like laughing uncontrollably, and it was just the best. And any thing that I had ever said that I was never going to be like my family, and I'm never going to be like them, and it's never going to be like that for me, like immediately went out the window. Like immediately, I didn't even remember who that person was, because all of a sudden I wanted this thing, and I wanted it all the time. And as a young woman, I was able to figure out right away that my body out there was currency quickly. I was able to graduate high school. I was a little young for my grade, so I graduated the next year. I had completely let go of band. I was just taking like a scrapbooking class, and I don't think that they felt like they wanted to fail me in scrapbooking, but I was barely showing up. And I was able to get through high school, and we were going to move to Santa Clarita. And in my head, I was like, yes, I'm moving to LA. Like, I'm going to be a city girl, and like, watch out, here I come. And it was just like a really big Moore Park, So that was pretty disappointing for me. But yeah, so now we're in Santa Clarita, and I get this job at the Red Lobster over there. And I never sold drugs or anything, but I definitely slang Cheddar Bay biscuits. And people go crazy for the Cheddar Bay biscuits. People go really wild for Cheddar Bay biscuits. And I was like a young person. I had cash in my pocket, and I was like, had friends who were 24, and they had their own apartments, and they were like inviting me over, and they were giving me drinks, and they were giving me all kinds of stuff. And honestly, at that time in my life, I felt like I had arrived. Like, this was exactly what I had been looking for. But things for me fell very quickly. I really appreciate that Todd talked about like pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, because when I came into the rooms, when you guys showed me the big book, there were a lot of words that I had to look up. Like rest with a W before it. What? So it was just, there were a lot of words in the big book that I had to look up. But when you guys said pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, I never had to look that up. I had been living it, and I identified with it right away. I think that's for me. Just kidding. So yeah, things for me like fell very quickly. I heard this in my early sobriety, and I really identified with it. Somebody had said a long time ago that alcoholic women are like monkeys when it comes to relationships. Like, they don't let go of one vine until they have a hold of another. And that was like totally me too, like me too. There'd be like plenty of times I'd be with like boyfriend 1, and then show up to my house, and boyfriend 2 was like waiting, or it's like we like got here a little too late. And I was just like always in these like just these crazy scenarios, these crazy relationships. They could be abusive, or they were just chaotic, and all I was really looking for was like the next one. And I don't even mean like the next him, but that could be that too. But I was really just looking for the next way to get loaded, the next time and next opportunity, and like the next whatever. That's what I was always looking for. Like, I would just wake up, and it was like, okay, I need to take like a few shots of vodka to be okay. Like, I need to smoke something. I need to take something. Like, I need something, because I can't deal with like life on life's terms. Even though at this time all I'm doing is waitressing, I just could not like handle it. I couldn't handle life. By the time I had come into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, when I turned 21, I like to say that like the barroom doors opened for me, because not a lot of people after work are super down to like do shrooms and snort coke, but a lot of people are okay with going to a restaurant and doing sake bombs, like a lot of people are good with getting like some beer and drinking it at a house party or something. And for me, all of a sudden I could go to the liquor store, the gas station, the grocery store, restaurants, amusement parks, like anywhere, and liquor was available to me. I'm sure no one in here has ever done drugs and they've never had to chase a dealer around. Like, I'm sure no one's made millions of phone calls trying to like find the next thing. But when I turned 21 and liquor was available to me at like pretty much any turn, there's this place in Santa Clarita called the Four Corners, and there's a gas station there. And I used to get like a Gallo wine, like it was like this big, and it was $5. Yeah, that's right. Someone's listening. And they would have like, I would get like the chiladas, and I would get like little airplane vodkas, and I would like mix them together. Or back then they had this thing called juice. I don't know if anybody's ever drank a juice. Yes, that's right. Those things get you pretty messed up. But like, it's just like, it's like anything was available to me at any time when it came to alcohol. And, I was under this impression that I could control my experience with drugs, but I could not control what happened with liquor. I really couldn't, and you never knew who you were gonna get. Like, was I gonna be the girl who's making out with like your girlfriend, your boyfriend, the bouncer? Like, am I gonna be throwing up in your car? Am I gonna be trying to pee in the street because I think I'm like cool or something? Like, am I gonna be arguing with you because you said something and like I need to tell you what I think? Or, am I gonna be crying that day? Am I gonna be laughing? Like, you just did not know who you were gonna get. And to be honest, I am a blackout drinker. I used to think I was a lightweight, but I think it's just because most people don't take like, 6 shots in an hour. Like, that's not a lightweight. That's just someone who's just trying to get like messed up, But to me, that was like how I drank. I drank for oblivion. I drank to black out. I didn't want to deal. I just didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be in this universe, And alcohol made that possible for me. So when I had come into the rooms, like I said, my sobriety date's November 2nd. That Halloween, right before, October 31st, I was out with some friends and they had some stuff that I normally did. And I just had this like we talk about that moment of clarity, and I just knew that if I did the thing that I always did, I was going to wake up to the thing I always woke up to. I just knew. I was like, oh my God, if I do this, I know I'm just going to wake up with this like shame, this like horrendous story about what happened last night. And like, I just can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And every day I like prayed, like, please God, just like take me out, Like, just like end it. Like, just, I can't. And I love when people say to me, like, if I'm speaking or whatever, and they know like I got sober at a young age, they're like, you're so lucky that you got sober so young. And I'm like, you're so lucky. It worked for you for so long. Like, it just stopped working. It stopped working. And, I didn't want to be an alcoholic either. I didn't want to take the steps either. I didn't want to do this thing either. I didn't want to come in here and like find a God. And I really didn't want to be here with you guys. But I think that's why we talk about like the desperation of a dying man, because that's where I was at. I was just like the end of this road. And my sister a year before had gotten sober. And it was like, what? Ew, sobriety. It's like not cute. But if you have read Bill's story, and if you haven't, I suggest it. He had a friend, Ebby, who had gone religious, and it was this person that he used to drink with, and he met Ebby again once Ebby had, gotten sober, and he talked about this twinkle in his eye that Ebby had, and my sister had that twinkle. Like, she had that thing, and she lit up in this way that I had never seen for a very long time. And my sister was my drinking buddy, like probably one of the last people that were willing to be around me, really. But it's like to see this like change in her, and she would say, come on, Michelle, just come to AA. Just come. So when I came that Monday, November 2nd, I went to a women's meeting at Rafters. They would like segregate the hall. So there would be like a men's stag on one side and a women's stag on the other. And I went in there, and it's like, I can't remember what was said or what happened. I do know that I cried, and I honestly didn't think that I was going to be able to get this thing. you know? And the reason why is because I didn't think that I deserved it, to be honest. With all the things that I had done out there and how I felt about myself and what had been going on, these like beautiful gifts you guys shared about, I just didn't think that I deserved it. Not a girl like me. Not someone like me. Like, you guys could probably see this huge sign behind me that just said all the things that I felt about myself. And I'm so grateful that the people in Alcoholics Anonymous will like love you until you can love yourself. You know, they'll like lift you up until you can like lift someone else up. And like, that's what we're here for. And I'm so grateful for that, because the women in that meeting, like, they were 50, and it was it was like a noon meeting on a Monday, but I was waitressing at the time. So it was like fit into my schedule, but they became some of my closest friends. And I loved them so much. And they were a huge part of like the foundation of my sobriety. And the women's meetings were really big for me. So I come in here, I get a sponsor, and I honestly, I was really afraid of this God thing. I like to talk about God. There's an old timer at my meeting at that meeting, he's still there, but he has a mug, and it says that the spirituality part of AA is like the wet part of the ocean. You know, it's like a pretty big part. And sometimes I don't hear a lot of people talking about God. Like, it's kind of interesting to me, but I definitely want to share my experience with a higher power. So I didn't grow up religious or anything. My mom does talk about Jesus on Easter and Christmas, which is still kind of weird to me, but we never went to church. We never did any of those things. And, there was this Christian family in my neighborhood, which I have no qualms with religion whatsoever. It's just my experience. There was a Christian family in the neighborhood. They invited me to go to this play. We go to this play, and like, this is kind of like what happened in the play. There were these two guys. They were construction workers. They're sitting on a wall, and they're like, "Hey, Bill, are you in the book of life?" And Bill's like, "No, I'm not in the book of life." And the other guy's like, "Do you want to pray so you can be in the book of life?" And he's like, "Okay." So they like pray together, and then they accidentally fall off this wall, right? And they go to heaven, and they're at the gates of heaven, and the guy at the gate is like, "Yeah, Bill, you're in here. You're in the book of life. Come on into heaven." So he goes into heaven, and it's like this great situation. The next scene are these two chicks, and like they're in a car, and one of the women are like, "Jill, are you in the book of life?" And she's like, "You know what? Religion really isn't for me. I'm like a good person, yada, yada, like I'm okay." They get into a car crash. They go to the gates of heaven. They're looking for Jill's name. It's not there. The devil comes out, takes her to hell. And like, I'm just like sitting there. I'm like sitting there as a fourth grader, like, oh my God, like. And at the end of this like play, they're just like, "If anybody wants to come up here to the front, like, we'll pray for you right now so you can be in the book of life." And I just like beelined it. I was like, oh my God, I need to be in the book of life. And I swear to God, I went home and I was like, "Mom, are you in the book of life? Like, is Grandma in the book of life? Is like our dog Roxy in the book of life? Like, I cannot be in heaven alone. Like, we all have to be in heaven together." I don't know if you know about The Secret, but like, we need to be in the book of life, you know? So that was my first introduction to God. And with all the things that had happened out there, by the time I come into Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm like, if I was in the book of life, like God took a huge Sharpie and just like scratched me out, you know, like I'm definitely not in the book of life anymore. And you guys are talking about this like higher power thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like what axe do I have to grind, right, to be here in this like whole God thing? And my sponsor at the time made it super easy for me. What she did was she said, "Michelle, write on one side of a piece of paper a list of everything you think God is." And I did. And all the things that I just told you guys was on that list. And on the other side of the paper, she said, "Write down everything you want God to be." And she like folded the paper in half, and she tore the list from each other, and she tore up what I thought God was, and she handed me what I wanted God to be. And she's like, "This can be your God today." And like, it's so interesting. Like, I love so many of the sayings in Alcoholics Anonymous. I love that it says things like, the hoop we have to jump through is a lot larger than you think. No matter how inadequate your conception, it's enough to make a beginning. And really, all I had to do was be willing to believe that there could be something out there. Didn't have to define it, didn't have to understand it. It just, am I even willing to believe? And honestly, guys, I know that there are people in AA who are atheists and they're still here. And I was able to go back to college, and I've taken a few math and science courses, and I can tell you that I feel like I've seen God in science. You know, it's like, I feel like when I open my heart to it, I see God in a lot of different places. And my foundation with a higher power has definitely grown since that moment. But I'm grateful to AA for that. And the last thing that I want to say about the God thing is up in the Antelope Valley, they have an Antelope Valley Roundup. And this guy, he like has a bunch of like AA memorabilia, and so he has like a deck of cards, and he puts them face down, and he has people come over and like pick up the deck, like a card, and on each card is a saying. And when I picked up mine, I think I was like a year sober at the time or something, somewhere around there, and I picked up one of the cards, and it said that deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. And I was like, no, like I want a different card. Like, I don't like this card. And I specifically remember him telling me, like, no, that's your card, you know? And when I really think about it, when I was, when I had started drinking and using, I was like, 18 or something, and I had actually gone to a church, and I had gotten baptized, and I stopped drinking and using for like 30 days, and then I met him, and he had just sold his guitar. I don't know what my thing is with guys and guitars, but, he had like $700, and I was like off and running again, There was a time when I was like on shrooms. I totally remember this, and I was like in the grass and like looking up at the sky, and I was like, oh, me and God are like one right now, and it's like when I'm honest with myself, deep down inside of me, I've always wanted to have this relationship with a higher power, and I just never knew how to find it. And you guys gave that to me, so thank you so much for that. I was really afraid of doing that inventory because I was really afraid that if I told anybody the things I had done or what I felt about myself, that you were going to look at me the same way that I looked at myself. And I'm so grateful because at the time my sponsor listened to an inventory that was like 13 hours long. God bless her soul. And she was like falling asleep, and I was like, this is good material here. Like, I got some juicy stuff, and you're like napping or whatever. But she helped me through it. I wrote down the things in that fourth column, but she helped me to see things that I couldn't see for myself too. And she had me write down extra things. And I'm like, that's kind of dramatic, but okay, I guess, I guess I am manipulative or whatever, Yeah, I am dishonest sometimes. And so she had me write that stuff down. And little did I know that was going to be the basis of like where my amends were going to come from. And I'm a really sick alcoholic. Like, I don't hear people say this too often, but I really wanted to go make those amends. Like, I was ready to see Bill again. It hadn't been that long. And like, maybe we were going to rekindle something, and I was going to be that rock star's wife. And me, Ashley, Katie, and Nicole, we were going to like have slumber parties again, and we were just going to be best buds. And what really ended up happening for me during my amends process is that I had that spiritual awakening that you guys talked about. Like, it was one thing to write down my character defects in step 4 and 5, and to like admit it to another person. It was another thing to like sit in front of someone and ask like, what could I do to make this right? And for me, I felt like I had been like a speck, like just this like dust particle. And that most people who like came across me, whether they were in a romantic relationship with me, a family member, a friend, a whatever, a coworker, that the moment that I left their life, they were like, good riddance, who even cares? Michelle, who? Like, that I just didn't mean anything to anyone. But when I sit in front of these people and they were like, no, really, like, why did you do that? Like, you meant so much to me, or it really hurt me that you did that. It was like this huge realization for me. And I was able to understand that I just didn't want to be that person anymore. I didn't want to be that person that just like roared through people's lives, like that tornado. Like, all of a sudden I'm like, I am that tornado. I am hurting people. And there was family members, like my stepsister, who I had stolen clothes from, stolen jewelry from, talked really nasty to, who never wanted to hear an amends from me. My stepmom, who never wanted to hear an amends from me. I had an old relationship who never acknowledged that I was even trying to reach out to him. I had a friend who said like, cool that you're sober, but I just don't want to hear it. Like, I don't really care what you have to say, pretty much. I can tell you right now that if they contacted me today, I'd be willing to make those amends. But it's like, in such a short time, I was able to have such destructive drinking that I really ruined these relationships with people. So when I started like going off and doing the rest of my steps, one thing I can say, when I first started, and I was talking to you guys about not always having a home group, I was able to go back to school. I was in Santa Clarita for the first 4.5 years of my sobriety, and I started going to a community college. And I want to tell you guys, like, when I started going to community college, I was actually 17, and I like totally effed it off, right? Oh, thank you so much. I totally effed it off. Like, I didn't even know anything about school. None of my family members had ever gone to college. My brothers never even graduated high school. Like, I didn't know what I was doing in school. And then on top of it, because of, drugs and alcohol, I just didn't care. When I tried to go back at, at 22, I had to clean up this wreckage in community college. And honestly, I was like, who did I think I was at 17 taking a trigonometry class? What was I thinking? What is trigonometry? I have no idea. What is it? So I started going back to school, and I realized, wow, I'm kind of okay at chemistry. I actually put myself in really low math courses, and I really wanted to build up to this crazy trigonometry class. And halfway through my college experience in community college, I decided I wanted to do engineering, which, to be honest, guys, I don't know an engineer. I didn't know what engineering was either. But I was like, no, I'm going to do engineering. I'm going to do chemical engineering. And I really don't know what that is at the time, but I was dedicated to it. So I started doing it, and then I got accepted to USC. So at about 4.5 years of sobriety, I left my home group in Santa Clarita. I left Red Lobster that I'd been working at for 8.5 years. I left the community college that I had these relationships with my professors, and I was chemistry club president and all these crazy things. And I actually moved to Los Angeles, really moved to LA. And at the time, I didn't have anything. I didn't have my relationship with my sponsor. I didn't have a home group, and all I had was my sobriety. And I was struggling. And I'm at this prestigious college doing engineering, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm getting a 30 on my thermodynamics exam. And I'm well, duh, because I'm a dummy. And I'm freaking out. And it's I had to learn how to reground myself in Alcoholics Anonymous, when these huge changes come to just come back to AA, And in step 10, it talks about cease fighting anything and anyone. And it's that promise for me wasn't coming true because I wasn't practicing step 10. I wasn't checking in with a sponsor. I didn't have those things going on for me. So I definitely paid the price in my personal relationships, in my relationship with school, in my relationship with myself and my higher power. And it's I just wanted to let you guys know that I was told that we either go or we grow, and it's I just wasn't ready to go yet. So I was willing to come back to AA and do what I knew that I was supposed to do. I ended up graduating from USC, which was what? I couldn't believe they gave me a degree. And I just want you guys to know that it's really, kind when people say you must be a genius, kind of, but no, I literally had, my GPA graduating from USC was a 2.7, which is a B- average. C's get degrees, guys. C's get degrees. And I had gotten my first engineering job, and I decided to go back and get my master's degree. And I currently work at Northrop Grumman, which is the place down the street. And I do live in Palmdale. It's kind of crazy. I mostly work from home right now, but it's I had to do my background check a couple years ago to get my clearance, and I had already had 10 years sober at that point, and the best thing was not saying that I had drank or used in 10 years. I didn't have to disclose anything at all. I had nothing that I had to be worried about, or nothing that had happened. The crazy thing though was they were on the phone with me, and they're we pulled some records, and we know this is outside the scope of the 10 years, but we found out that you had been, we found out that you had been put in a holding cell or something in San Diego. And I was oh my God, tell me about it. I was blacked out. I don't know. A ticket never came in the mail. My car wasn't repossessed. Can you actually give me more details about that night? Because I've been wondering for years. I've been pulled over since then, speeding and stuff, and there wasn't a warrant. So I assumed I was in the clear, but it was just an interesting experience because sometimes I think to myself, they gave me a clearance to make space parts, build space parts. If they would have only known what I would have done for a gram of weed 13 years ago, I don't know if they would have given me a clearance, to be honest with you. It's kind of crazy. I go to 55, right? Okay, cool. So yeah. When I first got sober, my sister had told me that the world was my oyster. And I kind of ran with that, you guys. I've been able to do some really cool things. Like I've gone to a lot of AA meetings in the United States, like Alaska. That was a pretty rough one. Like the AA there is pretty rough, but you know, it's like Hawaii and like all over the West Coast. I've been able to go there in 2015. I like backpacked Thailand for 2 weeks by myself, and I was in AA meetings over there, and they were so kind. They like showed me around the city of Bangkok. It was really awesome. And then was able to go to Costa Rica and like go on cruises, and there's AA meetings on cruises. Like AA is just everywhere that I go. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that any time something's going on in my life, that I can like just take this deep breath every time I walk into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous. It really doesn't matter like where it is. The people are the same. The message is the same. And this is home for me. I do want to talk about one amends that I have had since getting sober. So my dad was a weekend dad. And a lot of his weekends, he always had like a stomach ache. So I didn't really see him too much. And like I said, I grew up in Moore Park, and he lived in like the San Fernando Valley right off of Topanga, or like right off DeSoto. And in my mind, when I was a kid, I thought that was like a million miles away. It was really only like 15 or 20 minutes away. But I thought he just like lived so far. That was like one of the reasons I didn't see him that often. When I got sober, I made my amends to him. That stepmom who didn't want to hear my amends, he was still married to her for a very long time, and I didn't get to have a close relationship with her or with him because of my relationship with her. I would try to see my dad like, you guys taught me that no matter what the circumstances of my relationships are, that I show up. You know, if I'm supposed to be the daughter or the friend or the worker or the whatever, I show up in my relationship. So I would try to show up to see him and, you know, make that, to build this bond with him in like a living amends, but it wasn't always possible. At the end of 2019, my dad actually divorced her, or they divorced each other or whatever. And his birthday was that January, so like right before COVID. So we're going to BJ's. He lives in Hesperia. I'm like driving out to go see him, and we're sitting down to dinner, and you know, I'm like an adult woman at this point, and I'm like, hey Dad, is there anything that you regret about your marriage? You know, anything that you like want to talk about, share, or like for us just to get to know each other a little bit better? And my dad is such a savage. He's like, no, whatever. She doesn't want to be with me. I don't want to be with her. Like I'm already moved on, like has another girlfriend, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. But he looked at me and he was like, there's only one thing that I do regret. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, that you're such a wonderful woman, and I had nothing to do with that. Right? Me too. I was like in the middle of like sharing his B-Day Pizookie, like in tears, you know, because like I said, when I came in here, I just didn't want to not want to commit suicide. Like that's really what I wanted, you know. I just wanted to like learn how to live or something. Like I just wanted a way out. And I didn't know that I would be able to have these like meaningful relationships with people around me, and that I would be able to have that experience with my dad. I never expected, and I don't think we should ever expect that certain things are going to change or relationships are going to change. But it's like, so it was such a beautiful experience for me and him, and to be able to have that. And I had that at 10 years sober. If I would have gotten drunk at 5 or 4.5 when I was having that hard time at USC, like I would have never had that. Would have never had that with my dad. And I love my dad so much. And I love that like I get to call him today. I want to share that like strong sponsorship is really important to me too. My sponsor, Terry B, became my sponsor at 9 years sober, and she was actually the person who really changed my sobriety. Like she really had me like buckle down. She told me like, if you're gonna go to a meeting, you show up 30 minutes early. You know, if you're gonna speak at a meeting, you show up 45 minutes early, which is crazy. When I first started working with her, she told me that I had to call her every single day. And I was like, Terry, I have 9 years, not 9 months. Like, I don't know if you know. But she was like, I really don't care. You know, you're going to call me every day. You have a call time, and this is what you do. And what ended up happening is that developing that relationship with her through these like call times, even when I would say like work is okay, this is good, like whatever, yada, 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 when like the stuff was hitting the fan, I had already developed this relationship with her, and I wasn't afraid to call her like when things were happening, You know, because sometimes that happens too. Like we get afraid to like talk to our sponsors or to talk to people when like things are going rough. And I was just grateful that she had forced me to like have this relationship with her. And she was the one who told me like, you're going to start writing a card to your dad every single week. And I was like, a card to my dad, you know? And every single week I would write a card to my dad. And I would say like, at the beginning it was like, oh, things are good at work, this and that, whatever. And like they started getting deeper and deeper, and I was revealing more of myself and more of my life and more details of what was going on. And that's what led up to that moment with me and him on his birthday. You know, and he told me like that he had been keeping every single card that I had written to him. And it's like, all I just do is what you guys suggest for me to do. I don't know how to do this thing. I really don't. I don't know what I'm doing. I like grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous. I like, you know, and all these other things are super awesome. Like, I love that I get to be an engineer today. Like, what? That's so crazy. Like, I love that I get to say I have a master's degree. Thank you so much. Like, I love that I have a super dope car outside, like, or whatever, you know? Like, I love all those things. But, like, the really, no, it takes so much gas. It's fucking ridiculous. But, like, the thing that I really appreciate is that I get to like look in the mirror today and I'm like proud of who I am. Like, I'm really grateful that I get to love who I am today. Like, I get to feel like I actually have dignity and grace. I feel like at like 4 years I was saying like, I have dignity and grace. No, I really feel that today. And I feel very proud of like the woman that you guys have allowed me to become. You know, and you guys have taught me, like you taught me to come in and like, when I started working with Terry too, like I would wear like, you know, half shirts, low cut, like to meetings. And she's like, no, absolutely not. Like, no, you're going to go home. You're going to like put on a jacket, a sweater, a like full shirt, and you're going to come to the meeting because you're going to respect Alcoholics Anonymous. And this is at 9 years sober. Like at 9 years sober, she's teaching me one more time how to like suit up and show up for real for Alcoholics Anonymous, you know? And I will forever be grateful to Terry and what she's done for me. So I really believe in strong sponsorship. But yeah, there were a lot of people who came in tonight who like raised their hands and they're new. And if like a lot of this isn't making sense to you, it's totally okay. If you're scared, it's totally okay. It takes a lot of courage, whether you have 5 days, 5 years, 55 years, to continue to show up for yourself, for your sobriety, and for Alcoholics Anonymous. So like I applaud every person in this room. It doesn't matter, even if you're drunk right now, you know, like you're here and it's okay. You're in a safe place. And I just hope that so many of you find what we've found. Thank you.
Wow, what a woman. I would like to thank our speakers, Todd and Michelle. Thanks very much. Thank you. This is a large meeting. We encourage participation, especially if you are new. Being of service is a way we are able to give back to the group that which has been so freely given to our sobriety. We need 8 volunteers to help with cleanup. May I please see some hands? 8 people clean up. Yes, thank you so much. We now have an announcement from our cleanup chairperson, Ed.
Let's give another little round of a hand for our speakers tonight, huh? That was awesome. All right, can I need 8 volunteers? Can I see some hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Goody. Okay, 3 of you go see Stryker over in the kitchen. Everybody else, we're on chair patrol. It's going to be super sweet. We got all these little desk chairs right here. They go right over there. Same with that little back row. We got 7, 7, 6, 6, and 6 stacks. These dark green chairs, I don't know exactly what color you would call them, but these very pleasantly colored green chairs, stay right where they are. Everything else, stacks of 10 along this back wall. Just come see me as soon as we're done here. It'll be great, okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Court cards are signed and may be picked up at the podium after the meeting. Now, after a moment of silent meditation for the alcoholic who still suffers, please stand and join me in the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Keep coming back, it works if you work it.